Here to react is Forbes Media CEO Steve Forbes. First on just the style of this. I mean, maybe we focus too much, but we know that he backs up the style with action. And if he was just a typical politician talking and saying he's going to do this and going to do that, we might dismiss it. But he's somebody who has a record, and we saw that a lot of his talk does pay off. Talk about NATO, for example. He got the NATO countries to pay more. He talked about, they said it couldn't be done. Talk about the Middle East. He said he would get deals between Arab nations and Israel without the Palestinian Authority in the middle. John Kerry and others said it couldn't be done. He got it done.
And the press conference itself, he did in 1 hour more than Joe Biden did in 4 years, when you look at the actual substance of words actually said, coming from his brain rather than from a card. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And so the contrast was vivid. Yeah. And my goodness, the waterfront that he covered, so to speak, was amazing.
From A to Z. From A to Z. Let's talk about substance.
But one thing I was a little leery about was about having one comprehensive bill.
Yes.
Rather than two. He's got to go for one, because you only get one big bite at the apple. So go for it. This is what these guys are paid for. They were elected on that. Yeah. Go for it.
Well, let's continue with that. Of course, what you're talking about is the reconciliation bill coming right in. The tax cuts that he instituted in 2017 have, despite what all the experts said, they brought in an extra 48% in tax revenue, an extra $1.5 trillion in tax revenue. Of course, the Biden administration spent much more than that and raised the baseline of the budget by 40%. So that sort of negated the extra money that came in. But it seems like a lot of folks in Washington have forgotten about that, and they say you have to pay for these tax cuts even though they made all this money.
The only way you pay is by economic growth, not by taking more for people who produce things in this country. And I wish our party would go back to Ronald Reagan. They can look him up on YouTube and others sources and see what actually worked. It worked in the 80s. It worked in the 60s. It worked in the 20s. So it's bipartisan in that sense.
Yeah.
And learn. When you liberate the American people, good things happen. And these estimators in Washington, whether they're in the Congressional Budget Office or the Federal Reserve, always get it wrong when it comes to taxes.
Talk about the 11th hour decisions being made by the Biden administration to do everything they can to kind of gum up the works of what they know, because he's telegraphed he wants to do. In particular, drill, baby, drill. They now have this ban on offshore drilling. They're trying to insulate it from any attempt by Trump to do what he said he's going to do, to turn it off, to reverse that order. There's something called the Congressional Review Act. That goes back to 1996. Wasn't used much until Trump came in 2017. I think he used it about 14 times to overrule some of the Obama regulations. Will he be using that tool to turn these decisions
He'll be
around?
Using that tool, and also those two critical Supreme Court decisions, Chevron and West Virginia, in terms of overreach by the administrative state. So I think those things will be reversed. Another thing they're trying to do at the last minute is permanently ban new liquefied natural gas facilities to export gas to the rest of the world. The wonderful thing about that is we have more gas than anybody else, and China has to import energy. And so whether it's direct or be indirect, they'll buy from third parties. But we'll hold energy that China needs. That's big.
Very quick last question. He talked about all the foreign leaders coming to see him at Mar-a-Lago, including the Italian prime minister just recently. She came over in a day and left. But there are a lot of people from Silicon Valley who are taking the same kind of pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago. And today we had this extraordinary announcement by Meta that, in fact, they're going to get rid of a lot of the tools that conservatives were upset with, these fact-checking tools, et cetera, that very often were very progressive in the way they saw things.
It was censorship.
It was censorship. What do you make of this? Are these real moves? Has now the market become more important in the eyes of these woke leaders from the corporate world than making a buck?
Well, they used to say Supreme Court justices read election returns. Ultimately, I think CEOs are reading election returns, not just the election itself, but the mood of the people. They're tired of this woke stuff in the schools, tired of men competing in women's sports, the whole thing, tired of censorship. And to that, Elon Musk should get some Nobel Prize for taking over what he calls now X and revealing the amount of censorship, making changes there, but also bringing about the big change you saw today in Meta. So even though if their hearts are not in it, they know their survival depends on ultimately the consent of the governed. That's what Donald Trump has done.
The great Steve Forbes, thank you for waiting for us and watching with amusement what we just saw. That hour was something.
It was great.
More of that.